Hello and welcome to the ID Talk podcast. My name is Peter Counter and I am the editor-in-chief of Find Biometrics and Mobile ID World, where we are looking back on the highlights of biometrics and identity in 2022 as we gear up for the 20th annual Year in Review. This month on ID Talk, we are featuring key conversations from our live event coverage dealing with the year's hottest topics. In October, we were at Money 2020 USA checking the pulse of biometrics and identity in finance. And that's where our own Doug OGorden caught up with Michael Ramsbacker, Chief Product Officer at Trulioo. This thoughtful interview about identity in finance starts on the topic of how digital ID fits into the evolved payments landscape and where ID verification technology is expanding. Ramsbacker highlights a growing demand in online marketplaces as they seek to improve trust and safety on their platforms, before expanding on how Trulioo is helping its customers stay on the right side of biometrics regulations. From there, the interview turns to the crucial role of industry collaboration when it comes to thwarting the multi-faceted threat of fraud. This is a great conversation that highlights many key trends in digital identity. So here it is. Find Biometrics' Doug OGorden in conversation with Trulioo CPO Michael Ramsbacker, recorded at Money 2020.
Hi, Find Biometrics and Mobile ID World listeners. Doug OGorden here. I am live at Money 2020 2022. I'm with Michael Ramsbacker. He is the Chief Product Officer of Trulioo. Michael, how are you?
I'm doing great. It's great to be here at Money 2020 and 2022. Awesome.
There's a story behind that. I'll tell you off record.
Great.
What are you showcasing here at the Trulioo booth at Money 2020?
Yeah, I think we're really showcasing Trulioo's global identity verification companies, and we're talking about all the products that we have that help customers in crypto and payments and banking verify individuals and institutions and give them the identity services that allow them to operate in international markets. So we're showcasing all those great products, and we're also talking about, our next generation workflow systems that will allow the customers to really use all our products in a more configurable and no-code, low-code way.
I can ask you this question because we're like halfway over with the show. What have been some of the highlights from Money 2020 this year?
Yeah,
what's the buzzword?
Yeah, I think the buzzword is payment rails, right? I'm here to listen to our customers and find out what they want. And I think you've got a lot of companies that are trying to provide an end-to-end or a top-to-bottom full stack solution that allows them to provide payments and finance capabilities to their customers, and identity is a big part of that.
Sure. Remote onboarding and identity verification technology has become integral in digital online banking, and we're seeing legacy banks even embrace the technology too now. What other financial use cases are you seeing traction in? And what about other vertical markets? Are you playing in any other verticals today?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as banks were moving digital, closing branches, they've embraced identity verification. We're also seeing a big adoption in marketplaces. Marketplaces may not be regulated like a bank, but they're embracing identity verification to keep trust and safety on their platforms, ensure that people that are buying products on their platform are buying them from reputable businesses. And so, big uptake in identity in marketplaces. Crypto, also another growth area for identity. Crypto was built on the foundation of being anonymous, but as the regulations have emerged, many of the top exchanges that Trulioo works with have really embraced KYC and identity verification, not only to meet the regulations, but get ahead of the regulations, because it's really necessary for broad mainstream adoption of crypto. A lot of traction in that area too.
Speaking of regulations, Michael, North American biometrics space has become increasingly fraught with strict privacy regulations. How are you helping your financial services customers implement strong identity technologies in ways that protect them from class action lawsuits or regulatory fines?
Yeah, great question. I mean, first off, I think biometric technology has a lot of value for both businesses and consumers. It's really an important technique to verify an individual's identity, also to keep their account safe. You know, biometrics is an authentication technique we're all used to using on our phones. But you're right, there's a patchwork of regulations that exist in different states in the U.S. But I think the key thing is to really ensure that you're getting the proper consent from the end user, that they know why they're supplying the biometrics, how long it's going to be stored, what it's going to be used for. So in the products that Trulioo offers that contain biometrics, we really, we don't give our customers legal advice, but we make sure they have the proper tools to implement and get the consent that they need from their end users.
It's a great answer. I think that's really the answer, is consent and making sure you're telling the person on the other end, what are you doing with this information?
Right. The answer is consent and value. There's value in the end users, and we have a new payment study out that talks about how end users expect some friction in the process, and they understand that friction is for security. And so biometrics is an example where it's good friction for the user.
Wow, Michael, this really brings me into my next question very nicely. Fraud continues to be a driving factor for identity technology adoption in finance. A Javelin survey from 2020 found that over 65% of fraud victims reported being very dissatisfied with how things were resolved. Of that, 38% of them said they closed their accounts. What are some of the most pressing fraud threats today, and how is your organization helping defend against them?
Yeah, fraud is a big problem. It's multifaceted. There's a whole range of attack vectors. I think with fraud, and the way Trulioo is approaching it, is we've got a product that we provide to our customers, and it's really based on how can Trulioo help identify fraud across our customer base and really participate in a consortium, if you will, because really for organizations to really be most effective in stopping fraud, cooperation is required. These are criminal enterprises that don't stop with one platform or one company. They move across different systems, and I think it's really important for companies to participate in a cooperative model to stop that fraud. And so that's what Trulioo is focused on.
Kind of like in the physical world where, DHS says if you see something, say something. We need to be collaborative in this logical world.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great point. In the physical world, we pay taxes that go to law enforcement agencies and police that can stop crime, investigate crime. But in the digital world, yes, there are government agencies that do that, but I think the cooperation is what's required to find the criminal activity more real time and protect the consumer. And that's really what it's about, protecting the consumer.
Awesome. Last question. It's our 20th anniversary of our company, and every year we've launched a biometric and identity study where we kind of looked back at the year in review last year. We're changing it up now. We're working with a large market intelligence company called Acuity Marketing. They're going to help us look at vertical markets and see where we're headed for the future of biometrics. My question to you is, I'm pulling out my crystal ball, I'm asking you, what does Money 2023 look like a year from now? What are your visions?
Yeah, I think, well, I don't have my crystal ball, so it's
a little early for your crystal ball.
But I think, listen, I don't know 2023 or 2024, but the role of biometrics biometrics as a capability will have increasing importance in our society. And I think consumers are starting to understand the adoption, but I think the media really has a role to play. A lot of the negative media has batted out surveillance technologies, and really what companies like Trulioo and others are doing, they're not surveillance, it's consent-based systems where the users are agreeing to use the biometric. So I think the use cases will expand, and customers and consumers will become more comfortable, and it's only going to keep evolving and moving forward.
Awesome. What's the best way for our listeners to get a hold of Trulioo or get a hold of you? Or
well, if they're interested in finding more about our global capabilities, go to Trulioo.com, Trulioo.com.
Perfect. Hey, thank you, Michael.
Great. Thanks, Doug.
Have a great show.
Yeah. Thank you.
And so concludes our interview with Michael Ramsbacker, Chief Product Officer at Trulioo. To learn more about the topics discussed in this episode, visit Trulioo.com, which is linked in the show notes. I would like to thank Michael for participating in this podcast, and thank you to Doug OGorden for conducting the interview. Our podcast theme music is by Logomrad. I have been your host, Peter Counter. Thank you for listening to the ID Talk podcast.